All right, hey guys, I thought I would do a kind of cool video here. I'm scoping out, watching college videos kind of as we go into the season, and I thought I'd do some fun stuff, just kind of get you up to speed on, and think about some stuff. So it's one thing to watch really cool videos and watch saves and get inspired by that, but I want to talk about a little bit about what I see as a coach and what I really like at this level, and how it can how you can maybe apply it to your game. So this was the Denver versus Duke game, and what I did was I pulled together some clips and things that I found online, and so here we go. Let's watch. All right, we'll go back. We'll start it up here.
Alex Ready, a lefty.
Pause here. So a couple things here, just before we go on. So Alex Reddy, who is who's the Denver goalie, you'll notice just kind of his position here. Very good wide stance, but here's the thing: you got to understand. A collegiate goalie is going to be able to have a wide stance because they have very good strength in their hips. So if you're a high school goalie or if you're even younger, you're not going to have that strength to stand that wide. So if you force yourself to stand that wide with your knees out at that age, you're not going to have the ability to move laterally very quickly. So you're going to be kind of committed to the stance, but not the movement. And as we get to know each other, you'll hear some of my takes on that, because there is some benefit to just having a wide stance in terms of rotational stability to make saves, but in terms of lateral mobility and just overall movement, it can be restricting. But I just wanted to show you how Alex stands.
Depths of scoring, 4, 5,
All right.
6 guys who could get it done. That's this type of team.
So what I love about this is just a quick little sweep, little pick on the top. And goalie makes a nice save to the off-stick side and then chases it. So a couple things to just kind of point out here is that, one, you'll see the goalie is fairly he's got a good stance. This goalie could actually even be out. In my opinion, I teach lacrosse goalies to be aggressive. I believe that the lacrosse goalie of the future is going to be even more aggressive, because they're going to finally adopt this idea that we're going to be able to stop more balls with our body, especially from shots from outside. If we take up more space in the cage, we're going to make more saves than we're just relying on our reflexes to get to everything. So in this case, the Duke goalie, Fowler, Danny Fowler. He's got a good position here, but he could almost be further out. But you'll notice the hand position is out. You know, it's that classic, like, out all the way, halfway back, thereabouts, right? And then he's going to make a really nice save here off the sweep. So the shot's going to actually be taken by about 14 yards or so on the run. Now, what you'll notice is he gets really low and aggressive. And what I like about this is that he is, in his mind right now, he is taking a very aggressive athletic stance this ball. And I believe that for the most part, most coaches have been coaching the athleticism right out of their lacrosse goalies, okay? We want our goalie to be athletic and to the best of their ability. And so you see he's got like this crazy wide stance, and I love it. And then you'll notice as he fires off, I'll just click on pause, as he fires off to his right, boom, right? What ends up keeping him, like what ends up helping him get start that explosion to the right, the hands move. He gets a huge rotation in the torso, right? We don't talk about this a lot, but by firing the hands across, right, that the torso turns, and all that kind of kinetic energy is going to help him turn the hips and then sprint. Now, interesting thing, just want to point this out. The rule is that who's ever closest to the ball when the ball goes out of bounds gets possession, right? And so it's a bit of a judgment call from the ref, right, in this case. So you've got number 4 here on the back, who obviously looks closer, but I kind of wonder if Danny kept running, if he holds up. I kind of wonder, the ball's right there, if he wouldn't have gotten maybe to here and gotten the call from the ref. Because if number 4 runs out of bounds, like before the ball runs out of bounds, he's no longer in the play, right? So just something to consider, right?
Turned away. Paul, do you agree with that sentiment? Denver can win. Nice swim move. Russell behind the cage. Denied.
So on this particular play, let's just watch how the goalie's set up when the ball's behind the cage, all right? So
Paul, do you
hopefully the
agree
clip
with that
comes here.
sentiment? Denver can win. Nice
All right.
swim.
So my rule of thumb, all right, the way I teach lacrosse goalies, my rule of thumb when I work with them is like when the ball goes behind, like if we take an imaginary line from about the post to the where the restraining line meets the end line or thereabouts, right? That is when a goalie is going to turn and face the back of the field, right? Turn and face the cage. So I'm a big believer in a very simple pivot. So in this case, the goalie's on the left post. The pivot would be off his right foot. Okay. So, and he would just pivot here, but this happens so quickly that, Alex doesn't get the chance to basically turn here. And this attackman now dodges back, right? So he's kind of stuck. So you see him start and then go right back to it. But that allows you, if you just pivot on that right foot, it allows you to make that quick change of direction. And so what I see with a lot of younger goalies is they get, and especially a lot of the girls, get really sloppy with the footwork, and they're trying to dance around the back of while the guys are on the back of the cage, and they get lost. But you notice that with this very simple pivot, he's right back into the position because this attackman sees this gap here, and he's going to try to make something happen, right?
Russell behind the cage.
So what happens is he comes around as a lefty, right? He comes out around as a lefty, so he can get a shot off before his body is above goal line extended. As a lefty goalie in this case, Alex may have a little bit of an advantage here, being able to stuff that low shot, right? But we've got to, the goalie's got to rely on his D to make the play after he makes the save. But I just love, let me just back this up and let's play it again. And I'll play it full speed. Watch what happens, right? Pivot, back, stuff. Boom, rebound.
He was in the crease. It'll be Denver ball.
Love how the ref on the opposite side of the cage calls the man in the crease, not the guy on the side where the ball was, who could see it. But anyway.
Here comes Duke, unsettled opportunity. Conley, he's got a good outside shot. Transfer from Georgetown, a save.
Love this save. Love this save. So here's the thing. So first thing, just a little nitpicking, that Alex plays pretty deep compared to Danny Fowler on the other end. We're talking like about 6 inches, right? So, so Alex plays a little deeper, and that's fine. Like, and I just want full disclosure. I haven't worked with these goalies. I don't know them personally. I'm just talking. I'm using names, so it's just easy. So with all due respect to them, they've played a lot. They've got great coaches, but for those of you that follow me, I'm all about creating the lacrosse goalie of the future, right? And what's going to make as shooters get bigger, faster, stronger, which isn't going to be a whole hell of a lot because our athletes now are really, Division I lacrosse players are really pushing the envelope. They're big, they're fast, they're strong. We're going to see incremental improvements there, but where the goalie is going to make leaps is when we do some more aggressive positioning, when we have, when we start pushing the equipment envelope in terms of like maybe protecting the shins and the lower body to make more saves like a hockey goalie would. But this save in particular, what's really interesting to me is that, so this shot is well taken, right? There's a little bit of a screen here, right? So he's got to catch that. And he's got to see around it. So, and then this shot is well placed to his off stick low, which is right. It's the hardest place to get to as a lacrosse goalie when we're trying to just get our stick there, right? But what I love is that Alex drops and gets his, this is a very athletic play and not something that probably any of you watching would necessarily practice. And a lot of coaches would critique this and criticize this type of save with a young goalie. And that's where I think there's a big mistake being made amongst goalie coaches across North America.
Transfer from Georgetown, a save by Reddy.
So fires that stick down and across, and naturally the body's just kind of break at the knee, and he's going to be down and get there. So is that unorthodox? I have been saying for years that goalies shouldn't feel too bad about dropping to their knees. The old school mentality of lacrosse goaltending is that, goalies need to step to the ball and look nice and tidy when they're done. And you know what? When the ball's coming at you at 100 miles an hour, as it is in Division I lacrosse a lot of the time, you've got to just explode, and your technique may fail in some places, but you will make up for it by taking this mentality of, I'm just saving the space. The ball is going to the space. I'm firing down there as hard as I can. But the lacrosse goalie of the future is going to be making more saves with their legs and their shins and their feet. Okay. And so we got to be open to that.
Going down to get it. Jackson. French to Walker, steps into one.
Nice.
Going low to high. Fowler comes out of the cage, loose ball. And Ducassi.
All right, so let's talk about this one because I'm sure a lot of coaches are freaking out about this and like, oh, the goalie should stay in the net and all that stuff. No. All right, so a couple things. Let's just watch his setup. So one of the things that I encourage goalies to do is to always maintain a rather we want to be athletic first, and we want to be a little bit loose. Like if you're tight, a contracted muscle can't contract anymore, right? So if you are tight, then you can't explode any further, right? So if you squeeze your hand and then I tell you to squeeze it harder, it's not happening, right? So we want to maintain a level of relaxed readiness, right? So I call it resting, ready every single time, right? So rest. So a reminder for your goalie is to rest, ready every single time. And also the word rest kind of gives a little connotation of being like relaxed maybe, right? And so if you watch how he moves here, right?
Jackson.
Loose, relax, and then here, boom, tight, right? So there's two ways this can be taken. One, he makes a phenomenal save here, but we lose the rebound, right? Now, part of rebound control is about having a supple top hand, right? And I use the word supple just because there's an amount of tension, but also amount of just flexibility and softness. And right before he makes this save, you'll notice he gets extra ready. Watch this.
French
boom.
To Walker.
Right? You see that shift, right? Now, sometimes goalies can, as a goalie, right? At the Division I level, at the time, I mean, this is a big game. I mean, it's early in the season, but it's a big matchup, right? We're Duke versus Denver, right? As a goalie, you're waking up in the morning and you're amped up for this game, right? So your brain is operating in like pretty high brain waves. And if it goes too far, then we're in that like ultra high beta where we're kind of freaking out and it's not healthy, right? But you can maximize that, as I'm sure Danny is here, where he's in that high beta, that super reactive, like just, ready for anything, like fast twitch. He might have even had a couple Red Bulls before he played, who knows? But this save is quickly, it's like boom. But the rebound is just one thing that I'm going to just nitpick on because like I don't mind rebounds, especially for Division I lacrosse goalies, right? Coaches that complain about rebounds being given up, listen, man, you step in the cage, right? And you understand what's going on here. But what I love about this play is that he follows the rebound because sometimes as a goalie, you're the only one who knows where it goes. Now, what's beautiful about this is look at all these long poles, all these defenders. They see the shot released and they're all looking, right? They all turn. Why? They're all hungry for the rebound. So watch Danny and watch this guy take off. Boom, there goes the ball. Boom. So who saw it first? The goalie saw it. This attackman saw it. This attackman saw it. Now this guy, number 11 here, did the right job. He kind of set a pick, but he stood still enough. But Danny knows that he can go out and get for this ball because he's going to have numbers when he gets there. Him, his defender, and maybe another one. Now, the cool thing he does here, there's a lot of coaches, and I'm sure a lot of people in the stands right now are freaking out about this play, screaming like, get back in the cage, right? We all know that mom in the cage, scream, or in the crowd screaming, get back in the cage, right? That's not the deal, right? So he does the right thing here because why? It's going to be a 2-on-1, and what's a 2-on-1? It's just a simple ground ball drill like we do in practice most days, right? So the best advice I ever was given as a lacrosse goalie was from the goalie at Brown University when I was super young, and he said, listen, when you decide to go, you go, right? When you decide to go, you go. And so back here, he decided to go. And now, he might have had a couple second thoughts out here, maybe not, right? Because at the Division I level, you know what you can and can't do, right? So he's going, and because you're going to learn more and you've got a better chance for going all out, because worst thing happens, he's like 90%, 98% right? But in that 2%, he can still fight for it, and that's exactly what it does. Gets a really good slash on the hands, maintains some sort of loose ball, I think, right? Yep. and his long pole gets it, right?
Cage, loose ball.
And so here's where, just something for all the kind of high school and the junior high school goalies out there and the parents and coaches who are watching me right now. One of the worst thing you can do when your goalie leaves the cage is have somebody else pop in the net, right? That's not what we want, because now we've basically taken a kid, maybe let's say they're equal athletic ability, right? But you got a goalie stick. You're not nearly as mobile with a goalie stick as you are with a long pole or a short stick. But when you put the guy in the cage and you just kind of take him out of the play, you miss the opportunity. Because right now, Duke has basically, they've got 4 guys going upfield or 3 guys going upfield. It's going to be a 4-on-3. So they got a fast break because all these 3 Denver guys are stuck behind the play, right? But if this defender had stayed back or this defender had stayed back, now you're in trouble. So when the goalie leaves the cage, you got to use that to your advantage and not like put somebody back in the crease just in case, because that guy's not going to be a pretty good goalie. Like, I can guarantee it.
And
right?
Duke has it.
So it's a great play.
That's a win-win for Fowler. Big stop, make some body contact, get that adrenaline going. Crowd gets behind him.
That's right. So y'all heard Quint Kesnick there talking about big win-win for Fowler there. Totally was, right? He's on it.
Not there.
Awesome.
Here's Walker, final 10 seconds. His pass.
Okay, so let's talk about this save a little bit.
Here's Walker, final 10 seconds.
Oh, sorry, I missed it again. All right. Okay, so here we go. So as the goalie, right, we're calling out ball side right in this case. We're telling all the D, and then there's communication of who's the slide here, right? Who's going to be the slide in this particular situation? So as a goalie, we're communicating with one of whoever the D is in the middle here, who's going to be our slide if they're sliding from the crease. So I would be saying like, okay, let's say this is Chris. Chris, you're hot, right? So now ball side right, Chris, you're hot. So 11's got him. It's a righty shooter. Coming down the wing, right? He's now, we know at this point when he's this deep that most likely he's coming back to the right hand, because with the right hand he's going to have a better angle on the cage than if he shoots with his left hand. But the closer he gets to the cage, right, the more as a goalie right now that as he gets closer to goal line and the way our feet are positioned is that there's going to get to a point like right here. As a goalie, I know that anything outside my that's shot outside my left foot is going to go wide, right? I know that anything inside my left foot, I need to get down on. But then also, right about here, a goalie understands that this shooter only really has a couple options. 1, basically between the legs, if he's going to slam dunk it, and then 2, upstairs, right? So just basically those 2 zones, let's call it that, 2 zones. So what you're doing as a goalie at this point is you're reading like the whole stick, right? You're reading the whole stick. And also if you're on top of it, if shooters have a shallower pocket versus a bag in their stick. Because if they've got a bag, they need to get their stick further behind them to get that ball to release high, or get it really high to release high. If their stick is really shallow, so for those of you guys that might remember way back in the day, for John Zilberti out of Syracuse, he used like a teaspoon, and he could have that stick super tight, and he could shoot it like basically off his ear, and he could put it anywhere. But as a goalie in this case, for most kids, especially in high school, a lot of attackmen have a deeper pockets. They're trying to maintain possession. They don't want to get the ball checked out of their stick easy. So I know in that case, that shooter's probably going to hook the ball depending on what the stick is doing. So here, as he comes high, he brings it back to the right hand, right? And you can just tell by your shot library, your understanding of kind of the way the players shoot the ball, this ball is going high, and all Fowler does is he fires up to save that space. And he makes the save. Okay, so that's a great read. It's really, it's just optimal. At that point, you're just playing your advantage. You're kind of like a poker player who's kind of figuring out the percentage on hands. Oh, all right. So what do you notice about this? All right, what do you notice about this right away? Okay, so here we come. So number 6 here is a long pole. Right? So what happens a lot of times when there's any sort of transition and there's a long pole that's kind of left in the offensive zone is that now that people kind of forget that long pole, especially if there's some sort of like fast break runs out of here. So the D are playing a little deep. They lose track of 6. He comes down. He's backing out, right? So I think this is number 9. He's playing super deep. Doesn't need to be that deep, right? Because the ball is way over there. As a goalie, one of the things you can do to help your defenders is help them understand that, listen, if this guy tried to shoot the ball from out there, if I'm a half-decent goalie, I'm going to make that save. I've got to make that save. So instead of 9 sloughing away in, because they're crazy protected here, they don't have any trouble with this, but by losing track of 6, who's got a long pole, right? 6 is going to get the ball here from like 15 yards. This is a really high velocity shot. Okay, so and unfortunately for 6, he puts it like stick side high, right?
Donahue back to me.
Right, so it's kind of like right in his stick. So couple things in this situation. One, 6 probably doesn't get a ton of reps in practice, right? Getting these shots. I'm sure they do, but it's game time. So this is like, a lot of pressure. Now for the goalie in this case, it's 15 yards, it's a long pole, it's high velocity, and a lot of goalies don't see enough long pole shots in practice, right? So I would give the advantage in this case to the Denver shooter, but the Denver shooter kind of messes up a little bit, shoots the stick side high. Danny makes the save that he should make, right? He should make, and then now there's a quick outlet going the other way,
Top shelf save, Fowler.
right? So now it's numbers going the other way. Right, so it works out, but what I just want to leave you with on this one is understanding that a goalie, you can help your D and understand that, listen, we'll take that shot from out there. We'd rather take that one than this one, right? So a better play and all that would have been like just better defense on the ball, and that they didn't have the pass out front. And then it's settled offense, 6-on-6. You live to see it, another shot later, right? But it all works out in this case, and we get a good outlet pass from the goalie, and numbers going the other way, right?
Prendergast accelerating. Now Gutterding got a good screen that time by Conley. The shot not there. It is for Smith. Saved by Reddy, and here comes Dylan Johnson.
Great.
Now Gutterding.
All right, so let's talk about this one a little bit.
Prendergast accelerating.
All right, so watch inside here, right? So first, if this shot came from right here, this is a high-quality shot, right? Lefty shooter tucks it around the defender. Goalie's pretty deep in the cage, and there's a lot of net to shoot at here in this case, right? So what happens off ball, right? He steps back, right? Now we get a little cut there because number 8 here is worried about the slide. By tucking behind him, this Duke player is totally ready. Here comes the little two-man pop right in here, right? The mistake the defender had, he got caught behind the player's stick, so he's rotating now. He's turned away from the ball, which is not good. Now this is a quick slam dunk. So as a goalie, what you're trying to do here is you're picking up all of the shooter, right? So as the player turns, right, the goalie may lose track of the stick head and the ball. But as the player comes around, now you start to notice the hands, right? And the hands, if the hands come around high, odds are when the player is tight to the cage, although this is kind of in limbo here, but as the player is tight to the cage, say within this like kind of 6-8 yard range, now if the hands are high, odds are the shot is going to be high.
By Conley, the shot not there.
And that's exactly what happens, right? If the hands come around low and we know that the shooter has like a pocket in their stick, then most likely they're going to hook that ball, right? They're going to hook it. They're going to hook that ball down, and so then it's going to come low. So as a goalie in this situation, in this turn, I got to take up the whole player. So if you're a coach watching and you're telling your goalie you got to zone in on the stick head. You got to zone in on the ball. You lose all that, right? You lose those, I call them tells, and I'm writing about it in my book about that. Like, it's tells, right? What's going to give away where we think the shot's going? Because a goalie can't just rely on reactivity to the ball, right? The ball's coming too fast. Guys are too quick. So we're looking for those hands, and we're looking to see what's the total package, and that's going to give us the clue on where the ball's going to go.
Smith, saved by Reddy, and here comes Dylan Johnson.
Great stop. Reaction with the lower body.
Jackson shooting on the run. Loose ball in front of the cage. Who's got it? McDonough for Duke. Outlet to
So on this one,
Jackson shooting on the run. Loose ball in front of the cage.
I'm not totally sure where this ball goes.
Jackson.
Okay. There we go. Ball's in here somewhere. All right. So as the goalie, when we're a lefty goalie in this case, and the shooter's going from the middle of the field to side right, you're a lefty goalie. You're trying to play just slightly closer to the near side post. As you move, you want to be closer to the near side post because just when it comes to geometry and the stick head and the ball and all that stuff, right? He is perfectly aligned for the ball out of the stick, not on the shooter. Okay, a mistake in this case with lefty goalies moving this way is that they play a little bit behind the shooter, and so then there's a lot of net to shoot at on their off stick side, right, near side pipe. But in this case, he's balanced, he's ready, ball's coming here, and I think it may have actually hit the defenseman. I'm not sure.
Shooting on the run.
Can't really tell, but anyways, he was there. Now this, I love. This is where I want coaches who are watching this to understand. If you've got an athletic goalie with a good stick, I love that he jumps out after this rebound and goes out. Now, yeah, there's 3 Denver guys here, but he's going to get in there. And by fighting for the ground ball, even though his defender got it, now he's kind of set to pick. He creates space here. He forces this Denver guy to go upfield. He causes this guy a little bit of trouble, gives his defender like an extra half step, and that's all you need in this game to make stuff happen. He makes a good successful outlet to his long pole partner, and now it's a 5-on-4 going the other way, right?
Here comes Gutterding. Fake pass. Feeding
nice.
Robertson turned away by Reddy. Squires has it knocked loose. Big ground ball.
Okay, so let's go back to this one. So what I love about Alex Reddy in this situation is watch the right foot. Watch his right leg.
Gutterding. Fake pass.
Boom. Right? So it's a kick save. No other way to describe it, okay? For 20 years now, I've been a proponent of lacrosse goalies needing more equipment because there's no other sport where we ask a player to put themselves in like this much harm, with probably the exception of tackle football. But this is he puts his foot out there, and I'm all about like game day pain is different than practice day pain. And there's some of you old school guys watching me right now who will complain and say that I'm soft or I'm making soft goalies. You're wrong, okay? Because right now, like he left this game. He after this game, he didn't leave the game, but after this game, he's got a pretty decent bruise going on his ankle, right? I'm guessing, right? But I'm gonna assume he's got something there enough that the next day when he woke up, he was like, ah. And even in the second half of the game, he's probably like, right? Because I don't think he's protected there. If he was protected, it didn't hurt, great, right? But this is where, it's one thing to watch a Division I lacrosse goalie make that save in this environment with these, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? But everything on the line sort of thing. But asking your 8th grader to do that, right? We never do it, right? We never do it. Why? Because we know better, right? But what you're basically trying to do here is tell a goalie, listen, I want you to make a kick save in practice, and let's leave your stick on the sideline. We're just going to work on making saves with our feet. And you would go like, we're not going to do that. You're right, you're not going to do that, right? But come game time, we're asking a goalie to do that. So why aren't we practicing it? Well, they're not protected. Well, let's protect them and teach them how to make some saves with their legs. Paul Schmoller. I attended the Cornell camp when I was in high school, and Paul Schmoller was the coach then. For those of you, you'll know my age now, most likely. But Paul Schmoller was an world team goalie, and he was the first goalie that ever taught me. He's like, there's some saves that it's too fast and it's too close, and you're not going to get your stick head there, so you're going to have to save it with your feet. Okay. Now that was like 25 years ago, guys. And we're still having the same damn conversation about protecting goalies. Because I'll tell you this, the young goalie, and my whole thing is about the lacrosse goalie of the future. The lacrosse goalie of the future, the goalie that's going to be playing in like 4, 5, 6, 8 years, right? The goalie who starts protected and has that foot protected or that shin protected or that ankle protected, they're going to be making kick saves in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade where it's not a problem, right? Whereas we look at this and we're like, wow, that's an exceptional save, right? But how many goalies miss this save because they have a little bit of fear in there, a little bit of doubt in their head that, man, this is going to hurt? Because, and I've talked to enough pro goalies who will privately say that they've got bruises or they've had surgeries for, torn any number of things because of getting hit with balls, right? And that is something that if you haven't lived it, you can't relate to it. So I love this save. We praise this save, but we need to protect our goalies so that this isn't even a problem, okay?
Robertson turned away by Reddy. Squires has it knocked loose.
Hell of a scrum on the ground ball there.
And it comes to Duke.
Okay. So let's talk about this a little bit.
Squires has it knocked loose.
So we get into trouble in lacrosse on the defensive half of the field when now everybody's out of position, right? This is a busted clear, basically. Everybody Denver thought they're going to get the ball here, and then so everybody's kind of busting out, right? There's the rebound. The middies are gone, right? The middies see the goalie make the save, and they're taught to go, because if we get the ball, it's a fast break going the other way. So we've got basically four Denver pulls here. They're starting to kind of clear out. There he goes. Oh, but that check brings the ball back inside, right? Everybody's fighting for it. Now, this was probably not the best play for this long pole to leave his feet, right? And to make the dive because his own player's there, right? So he ends up checking the stick out of his own D. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Duke and basically two Denver players, right? There it comes. And so now we're odd man. This is dangerous enough right here. I mean, this is worthy of a shot, but these guys do the right thing and back out, right? And there it is, right? Just ready. Right-handed, right? I love that he's right-handed here, not left-handed, okay? Boom. There's now the toughest thing for a goalie is basically have to move on short notice. He had to respect this shot, right? If this player was like another step out here, Alex might have been able to just kind of play more towards the middle and be in a better position for when the ball finally arrived there, okay? There's also another player here, so he may have gotten confused thinking that the ball would have gone all the way across, but now he's got to set, and he's in the air basically by the time the Duke player gets the ball. And when you're in the air, you can't adjust. And so if you watch this full speed a little bit, I'll just back it up just a hair. Watch it full speed. Watch how ready he is once finally the shot comes. Boom. It's not a great play. So listen, one thing that we can learn from ice hockey is the idea of, when ice hockey goalies are taught, and I was a goalie growing up, and I work with a lot of goalies in my other business, but one of the things that we talk about a lot is rebound control, right? We don't really talk about that much in lacrosse. We kind of think like goalies should be catching everything, but I believe that the lacrosse goalie of the future is going to be blocking more balls and then directing rebounds. So that kick save we were just talking about that Alex Reddy made, that's a bad rebound in that type of a play. And so let's put it this way. If you were a hockey goalie and you were going to make a kick save on that puck, you would want to direct that ball out towards the wing or towards the corner. Right. So, but as lacrosse goalies, because we're not protected, the fact that we're just kind of throwing a foot out there, one, we're not trained really well to do that, and now we're giving up really bad rebounds. Okay, so I believe the lacrosse goalie of the future, who is protected in that foot, the shin, ankle area, is going to have more confidence because they'll have had some success learning how to make a save with that foot. Because if you're a lefty goalie, and the ball's coming down to your right foot, it's easier to get your right foot there with confidence and control than it is trying to move your stick all the way from top left. I mean, everybody's got to agree with that, right? And vice versa. As a righty goalie, if a shot's coming down to my left foot, if I'm just committed to making saves in that area with my foot and not my stick, and I start that young enough, I'm just going to be kicking out saves all day, right? And I'll be directing rebounds, right? So bang bang play, I get it, but the lacrosse goal of the future, in my opinion, is going to be more ready for those shots, and that's going to change those games. I'm not taking anything away from Alex right now, not at all, right? So Alex, if you watch this and you're listening to it, you're a stud. I love you. I totally appreciate you, but what I'm talking about is the evolution of the position and where it's going to go down the road, okay?
Tied at 6, coming up on 2.5 to play. Opening half. Joe Reed. And Fowler comes away with it. Outlet to Prendergast.
Okay, so a couple things on this one, right? Number 12 is a righty shot, okay? And so in this situation with a scouting report, you kind of know that this guy's probably going to keep the stick in his right hand, right? So he's coming right-handed. Everybody's clearing through, right? He sees it. Boom, there it comes. Now he puts the stick in the left hand, but this is where if you scouted the player correctly, he's probably coming back with the right hand. Also, like we talked about before, as this player gets further down, closer to the end line, the angle with which he has to shoot on the net obviously gets smaller, right? So the advantage would go to the goalie, less net to shoot at. But knowing that he's going to come back to his right hand, okay, and there he goes. Now, as a lefty goalie, right, we have an advantage here, okay? We have an advantage. And one of my most controversial topics that I share with my coaching clients and I share in Lacrosse Goalie University and all that stuff is I believe the lacrosse goal of the future is going to start switching hands, okay? And I won't talk about it now. We'll talk about it in another video. But I'll tell you why then, all right? But here, because he's coming back to his right hand, then the advantage does go to Fowler because there's less net to shoot at, and it's basically strong hand to strong hand, right? But the angles are good. So right here, there's the stick head roughly, okay? The center of my cursor. There's not much to shoot here. And as a goalie, you've got to think about what does the ball see? Not what does the shooter see, what does the ball see? Okay? Because when you focus on what the ball sees, your brain goes, all right, ball does not see much upstairs, maybe a little bit towards the near side post, not much far side, but the ball sees stick side hip and it sees 5-hole, right? So again, now we're watching the shooters, we're watching the stick and the hands and the angles, and then he goes high to high, and Fowler's right there, gets something on it, like a glove. Again, we're just getting in front of that space, okay? Now, I want to touch on just one thing here. He makes a great outlet pass here. But one of the things I'm hearing from goalies kind of in the high school ranks, kind of the upper tier high school ranks, is coaches are like, goalies got to get the ball out of their stick. Goalies got to get their ball out of their stick. And I think we're missing the point a little bit. At the Division I level, guys, at the high Division III level, Division II, when we've got middies up here and, we got goalies with good outlet passes, that this middie's going to get free. We're transitioning. We might get guys stuck on the field. I get it. But in the high school ranks, what that's turning into is goalies who are like rushing everything. And so I just want people to be aware of that. I think the message that's coming from college coaches about the clearing game is getting a little muddled, and the idea that goalies got to get the stick out of their ball, the ball out of their stick. Sorry, is just getting a little muddled because what's happening in the high school ranks is that goalies are making maybe not the best passes. And then you've got high school coaches that want to play a little bit more up tempo and they're forcing things. And I just want you to be aware of that concept.
Outlet to Prendergast. He had 10 goals a season ago. Now a short. Guttering, a missile, and it.
All right, so let's talk about this missile. All right, so here's Gunnerden right here coming off the pick, right? And this is like 11 yards once he ends up with the ball here, right? Very simple, just pass across. And now this is a great shot choice, okay, by Duke. From a goalie's perspective, right, in the time it takes the ball to get there, Reddy gets all the way over and he's ready, right, which is cool. Now, the interesting thing here is, as a lefty goalie on this near side pipe, you've got space, obviously 5-hole, but because of the width of his stance, there's not a lot. This is where the talk about moving in front of the ball, stepping the ball, that's all gone at this case, because at this point for a goalie, it's all about foundation with which to move, strength of foundation, like strength in the hips and glute med and all that, so the flexibility in the hamstrings, things like that gives the goalie a good foundation, and then rotation. And so it allows a goalie to make a save. If that ball goes off stick hip, that goalie's leading with the bottom hand first, then getting the stick head there, right? But we got to be making, again, the lacrosse goalie of the future, in my opinion, is going to be making more saves with that bottom hand like a blocker, not trying to take that out of the way to get the stick head there. That's never made any sense to me, okay? He's got, the shooter's got near side hip, okay? He's got obviously off stick high and above the head. And if he's really, really dirty, he's going to go right above the stick, which is a hard spot for a goalie to save because we're thinking we're going to move everywhere else. So in this case, the shooter gets really low. The hands are kind of hip high the whole way through. And we know in that case that the ball is going to be released hip high. And I think in this case, he hooks it. He's probably going far post. He might have hooked it, or he was trying to go near post. And he hooks it, goes just outside. Okay. And so if the goalie in this case were right-handed, a goalie would be able to line up better on this near post. Okay. Be able to stand a little bit more erect. There's obviously less of a target then. Again, this is a right-handed goalie. There's less space on this near side pipe, so the shooter probably isn't going to go there, but a good shooter would, okay? This works out great, right? So one thing that we don't talk about enough as goalie coaches is we want to make it hard enough. We want to earn the respect of the shooters so that they're picking corners. And this is one of those examples. Okay, I teach this to all the goalies that I work with, is that we got to understand that, it's not, every shot isn't the same, right? Every shot is not 100%. Every shot, like, we've got to realize that if a player misses the net because they were picking a corner, like what happened here, that's almost as good as a save, because what it's done is that it shows me that this Duke shooter respects the Denver goalie enough to pick a corner, right? And so that's really important. We don't talk about that enough.
Guttering, a missile, and it is wide. A mom goal, right, Quincy?
You almost bought that, Anish.
So, let's talk about what happened here. All right,
Goal, right, Quincy?
So this is a busted clear, and this is a pretty junior mistake, okay? I mean, and I think you would agree with me on this one, all right? So as a goalie, we have to be thinking a little bit further ahead, right? And so when you're young and you're new, I talk about goalies like being like a glass of water. Actually, any player, you can apply this to any player, but you're like a glass of water. And when you're a glass of water, then what happens is, if a player is like totally tapped out mentally, that glass of water is like super full and might be even spilling over the outside, right? You can't give them any more to think about. They're just trying to survive, right? I get it. But in this case, as a Division I goalie, like as an elite athlete in any sport, there's a reserve at the top, right? That's the place where you can really think. That's where really amazing plays happen. I call it's in the reserve, right? But what happens here after this shot is we need the goalie in this reserve instance to understand, like, where is everybody? Okay, so we got a Duke. All right, so we're basically like 4 guys are close to goal line, 2 guys are close to restraining line. Okay, now I've got to know that if I make a save here, where are my teammates going to be? Okay, so we know that Duke is man up, right? So it's a 6-on-5, right? So when the goalie gets the ball, it's even strength. So that's where a goalie needs to get the ball and needs to start using the crease as that sixth defender, right? That it's like the pick, right? And so Alex messes this up a little bit. So boom, ball's outside. There's got to be a clear call, right? Just so everybody knows like what's going on. And now this is a busted man down clear, right? So boom. So goalie's got the ball, got 4 seconds. It's all good. Duke doesn't really know what to do yet either. They're looking for guys. Like nobody's looking to jump the goalie, right? 2-1,000, 3-1,000, 4-1,000. Boom. So this is where it gets messed up, okay? This is where it gets messed up. Is that the goalie has all sorts of time, right, but doesn't think he has the time. And what might have confused him a little bit here is that this short stick is way down low. Now, a lot of teams, they'll bring a shorty down, try to get on the ball, let him run it out. I get it. That's totally cool. But there's other ways to do this, okay? But the fact that he just kind of whiffs on it, and now it's like it's a legal procedure, and I don't even know what the exact call was.
You almost
all right, I get it. Sorry, now that I watch this again. They're trying to dump it on the back of the cage and let the shorty take it, which I think is kind of gimmicky, to be honest. Come on, Bill Tierney. It's like that's very Bill Belichick. So I appreciate it, right? I know but whatever. In this case, you got a crease, like you got an athletic goalie with a good stick, right? Duke's riding everybody else hard. Come on, let the goalie come up. Let's make a pass further out. Let's risk that because I'm pretty sure you can make that happen. So, but what ends up happening, I think, is that the goalie goes in and out. Just gets a little confused around the crease line, gets in and out, and blows it up. So whatever. But now Duke's man up now for 27 seconds, right? So when you could have had the ball and try to lose the ball on the other end of the field, or make something happen further upfield. I'm not a Division I coach. I work with a lot of goalies. I'm more pro goalie in this case than pro coach. So whatever. Now they're man up, and now it's ugly.
A costly turnover.
Totally.
Smith, right on the crease. Lowry hit the crossbar.
Okay.
And Duke was in the crease, right on the crease. Lowry.
So a question that I get asked a ton is what happens when it's a 1-on-0 with a goalie? What are you trying to do? All right, so let's watch this full speed.
Right on the crease. Lowry hit the crossbar.
Did he hit the crossbar?
Right on the crease. Lowry hit.
So I can't really see what happened with the ball here. If those of you guys know or saw the game, you can post a comment. But I just want to talk about here. So 8 here has the ball, right? And attackmen are typically taught to fake high and shoot low. Tom Marechek, the great Canadian attackman at Syracuse, Hall of Famer, had a great video out for years where he showed that. And it was great because there's a video from the goalie's perspective, and you could really see the change in angles when a player shoots high and then tucks around. So as a goalie, what we want to make sure we're maintaining is we want to know what happens in this case for a lot of goalies mentally is they feel like the net behind them is massive. And they've got to cover so much stuff. And if you apply the string drill that I teach to my goalies, and some of you guys have seen it, and you basically take a string and you line it up to the stick and to either post, a goalie knows just how far they need to move to make the save. And it's remarkably less than you think, okay? It's remarkably less than you think. And so what happens is a goalie's responsibility here is to match stick and not lose body. But what happens is that there's a lot of coaches out there that talk about like driving the hand of the ball. And what happens is that a goalie gets totally extended and that momentum takes them up off their feet and they get light and then they can't recover, right? And so we want to think and see the stick and match it, knowing that an attackman who's got some time is going to probably throw a fake or two, all right? So if you're a goalie and you're on a decent team, if you get faked once or twice, that's okay. I still think you should be able to make that save if you believe that you can make the save. It's when goalies are getting faked like 3, 4, 5 times. I get it. And you're trying to pick up your jock. Like I get it. Right. But in this case, you're trying to match those first 2 fakes, knowing that they're going to throw you a fake and then tuck it. The cool thing here is that as a lefty goalie with a righty shooter coming off the right side, the goalie has a good chance to make this save. Again, this goes back to I believe the lacrosse goalie of the future is going to start changing hands to have this advantage. If a goalie is right-handed in this case and they cross over, or worse, they go under to follow that first fake, they can't get back. Okay, they can't get back. It's rare. It takes a lot of strength and flexibility. So Alex does a good job of just staying with this.
Right on the crease,
and I'm not sure what happens to the ball. I think he either hits the post or hits the goalie. But it's a great. I want all the goalies watching, all the coaches you got to impart, like your goalies got to realize you just got to stay with it as long as you can. All right, you got to stay with it as long as you can, because the player is gonna miss or shoot it into you or drop it, or he's gonna take one extra fake and the slide's gonna finally get there. So you just got to stay with it as best you can. Okay.
In the crease, so Denver with a chance to escape what looked like sure trouble opening this second half. Down 2 men.
I knew that was coming. Nice one. Quint 1, Kark 0. Got to give it to you.
Saved by Reddy.
Wolf squatted 500 pounds. The most. Got to give it to you.
So on this shot, so this is kind of interesting because the number 19 here just loses track of his guy, but 9 is pretty choked up on the head of his stick. I think 9's coming around not thinking he's going to get the shot. He's going to think about dipping it inside here, but then he gets a shot off, but he's kind of choked up on the stick. Maybe not. He gets his hands down, but he's a little off balance. So this shot doesn't come off as great as he probably would hope for. So it doesn't come off with a whole lot of mustard. Alex plays deep in the cage, okay, and that's fine. And he's a lefty goalie, so he's in a good position here. He's shading a little bit, maybe to his right side, which is good, right? He's off stick side, shading a little bit to his off stick side. Shooter's taking a quick glance. He's just seeing net, and he's just firing for space. And Alex gets there, boom, right? Right. Nice job. Nice, good balance. One thing I want people to know, is we teach things like the adjustment step. We teach for goalies to move, but you notice here, he's not making he's not making an adjustment step that ends him up outside of the pipe, right? You've got to be reactive. And this is where I get a little bit away from, we teach moving in front of the ball. We teach adjustment steps. We teach all that stuff. But, when you're just trying to get your stick on the ball, it's more about foundation and rotation than it is about lateral movement, things like that. Okay. So this is a good example of that.
Saved by Reddy.
Wolf squatted 500 pounds, the most on the Duke team. Yeah.
And what was it? He was about
team. You're right.
Not necessarily the most likely to win it all, but most likely to join us in Boston.
On the run, Donahue's shot saved by Uppgren.
So here's the thing. We had to change the goalie here. So Uppgren's in, Fowler's out, okay? And so a little bit of a different look here, but good athletic stance, okay? This is where, if you've got a goalie and they're small, I always lean towards coaching athleticism and athletic stance based on the size of your goalie, not trying to have them adopt a tall stance or, for coaches that tell goalies that they should choke down on their stick so they can save more up top because they're just undersized. I think that's not serving the goalie well at all. It may be helping your team in the short term win a couple games, but really I think you're doing that goalie a disservice by doing that. So we've got Uppgren in the net, and this is a shot. It's on the run. It's probably 12 yards, right? Good rip. But what I'm more interested in here is the clear. So he makes the save. It's almost like the same type of thing. He gets the foot there first. Awesome. Lefty goalie gets a stick there. The one little nitpicky thing here is that you could hear that little snap. Listen.
Not necessarily the most likely to win it all, but most likely to join us in Boston.
So what most likely happened if the head of the stick is too close to the foot, right? There's the ball can hit the mesh, but then it's basically hitting your foot, or the stick is so tight to the foot then there's no ability for it to cushion. The other thing here is that when you're going low with the stick, the bottom hand has to get extended out. That's the only thing that gives you the chance to get the stick past vertical. And so if the stick isn't past vertical, then it pops a rebound out. But he does a great job of being balanced. He's a very strong goalie physically to be able to make that save, get that left foot out there, but then recover quickly enough to get the rebound and then protect it because Denver's right on it. Boom. Pulls back. Got it. Nice job. So that pass, though, all right, let's just talk about this for a second. As a goalie, you've got to think like a quarterback, okay? And so what I can just tell from here is that he's got to get over this attackman. There's the ball. But he's very tall and very extended. And what that tends to do is that sails the ball high, as well as let's just look at this real quick. No, he's pretty good. But it's just a little bit of a bad play. And smart by the Denver attackman to be in his face because that causes this to sail long, okay? But I love the look. I love that the goalie can see it. People ask me all the time, like, how far should my goalie be able to pass? And it's like this far. Now, if your kid's U10, like if we can just get the ball a little outside the restraining line, that's a good thing too, okay? But it's quick, it's easy, and Duke does a great job here. This is where smart attackmen, they can let your goalie take more risks because usually the attackmen are more awake than the long poles are, and they're going to come up with these loose balls. All right?
Duke the other way, Robertson.
Because this is still dangerous.
After a bit of a slow first quarter.
So many elements of success.
Baptiste has his pass picked off by Fowler.
All right, good.
Fowler started the game, was replaced to start the second half by Turner Uppgren, and then Baptiste.
All right, let's talk about this for a second.
A bit of a slow first quarter.
So Baptiste comes down. All right. So an argument that I hear a lot is that whole argument of like, what should goalies be doing? Should be making saves, clearing the ball, knocking down passes, things like that. I wrote about this in my book, and you guys will get to see it. But when I was young, I had this high-powered Long Island goalie coach tell me that I would never be an All-American, and I was never going to be able to pass the ball well because I didn't have a long shaft. And so I was probably in that first generation of high school lacrosse goalies that adopted using shorter shafts because I was just strong enough to do it, right? And so in this case, the Baptiste comes down, and as he gets close to goal line, so this is what's really interesting. Lefty goalie, okay, on the near post, on the left post, when you're not thinking pick off a pass, but Baptiste gets so shallow, and he's right-handed. Right? So as you get to about here, you're kind of going like, well, wait a second. Now, a couple things here. Uppgren is almost playing him too straight up because I don't like the right foot placement here. I don't like how far upfield it is, but because he's so deep and he's a righty, that may be what he's thinking. So Turner, I don't know if that's what you're thinking here, but as a lefty goalie, you got to respect now a shot top right or between the legs. But when you start doing the geometry here on the where the ball would go, that right foot is pretty far upfield. It could be less upfield. But this does actually end up helping him get this pass off. So this is interesting. He crossed his hands, okay? He crosses over and ends up getting but he crosses first and just catches him off guard. And Baptiste throws it in his stick. Watch. Right. Yeah. So he totally just kind of throws him a little. This is where the goalie is playing offensive, and that's one thing that I love. Right. I want my goalies. I call it offensive goaltending. Right. You're not a target. Right. You've got to be able to dictate the play a little bit. You've got to mess with the shooters a little bit. And in this case, you got Baptiste coming down. He's in an area that's probably not super familiar, right, to him. He's probably more used to running down the middle or whatever. But you know, being stuck on goal, just coming off a goal line, you know, and he's got a shooter in the front. You know, he's going to try to make that pass to the guy who probably scores more goals in that situation, right? So Uppgren makes a really good good play there. Okay.
Pass picked off by Fowler. Fowler started the game, was replaced to start the second half by Turner Uppgren, and then replaced Uppgren during that third quarter.
So I love this clear, by the way. Love it.
And Reddy's been helped this year by having Ryan LaPlante on staff. Bill Tierney told me this morning a former goalie allows Denver to better diagnose any adjustments that Reddy has to make.
And Duke doesn't have that luxury. They do not have a goalie coach.
Walsh, that one is all right now. Here comes Jackson. He'll dodge. Jackson, a save by Fowler.
Awesome. Oh, catch that thing. All right, here, let's talk about this. All right, so I'm going back here. Nice shot, good save, and great outlet. Just a little excited, right? So this is, to me, where this is a goalie that's a little amped up. Boom. It's too much, right? So there's two keys to a successful outlet pass. One is the pass from the goalie. Two is to the kid that can catch it, okay? So, you know, in the NFL, we talk about wide receivers having a catch radius, and I don't think we talk about that enough in lacrosse, right? It's one thing that I tell, you know, young kids to especially long poles, working with goalies, you know, is this idea of like the goalie, we're teaching the goalie to put it right on your stick, but you as the person who's going to receive this pass, you've got to have a catch radius. You know, if professional quarterbacks can talk about wide receivers like that, just being able to put the ball into a place knowing that that player is going to suck it in and pull it down, that's what we want to kind of pass on to our defenders and our midfielders who are clearing the ball. It's like, listen, the goalie's going to try to get at you as best he can, but it might just be off a hair. You've got to bring it in, okay?
Outlet to Van Raphorst. Vacuums the ball over to Smith. Duke back up. 4.5 to go. Gutterding bullies his way in.
Ooh.
And Windsor standing tall. Gutterding was in the crease.
So on this one, we'll just talk about it real quick. So one of the things that I encourage coaches to do, you know, we had a question in our group, in our free Facebook group called Creating the Lacrosse Goalie of the Future. The question was, it was geared towards like U12, U14, I think. But this idea of like, should goalies be in the cage for certain shooting drills? And so I'm all for teams working on kind of naked dodging where there's no defender. So you're teaching your attackmen, you know, you're going to come up to 5-5 or somewhere about, you're going to inside roll and you're going to inside roll and you're going to switch hands, you're going to inside roll and you're going to keep the stick in the same hand. It's okay to do that if you put tennis balls in the shooter's hands, because we don't want to beat up the goalie. But this is a great opportunity, and this is where a goalie, super strong on the hips, as you tell here, he knows where this ball can and can't go. But 14 comes up and makes dodge. So let's just watch the goalie's feet here. So first thing, right? Goalies, I love this position for the goalie when the ball is at X, right, or thereabouts, or behind in this kind of big V, right? Now, as the player comes around, goalie's going to just pivot on the right foot, and the left foot's going to come right to the post. Boom. Now he's ready to go. Doesn't have to move any more. Now, if your goalie's small, has a small inseam, they might have to take a little adjustment step here. That's fine. But goalie's now talking to the defender. Defender's trying to drive him out.
Gutterding.
Defender overplays him a little bit. There's a lot of space here, but the defender now is just waiting for that stick to come inside for a check, right? Doesn't get it. Gets two slide. It gets basically another defender on him. This is a great job to get this shot off, but the goalie does a good job to realize that, okay, this player is still left-handed, but the shoulders are pointing now towards the end line. It's going to be a hard shot for him to get off. So stay with the hands. Boom. Right? So a goalie's got to know, a goalie's got to have enough reps to understand what a shooter can do and can't do in this type of situation. So I highly recommend There's a great championship production video by Coach Berkman at Salisbury. It's a bunch of years old, but it's a lot of their drills, and they're drills that, for attackmen coming from X and dodging from, off the backside of the crease and then coming up 5-5, doing all sorts of stuff. I'm a big believer in having goalies in those drills if they're protected, right? And so you can either pad up the goalie or you can put tennis balls in the sticks and do that, right? Because then you get all the benefits of it. The shooters are getting all the benefits, and the goalie's getting all the benefits too, okay?
And Windsor, standing tall, Gutterding was in the crease.
About pregame, right? If it rained.
See that ball skim?
Yeah.
French side of...
So something to understand here. So again, one thing, goalie here, I'll just play this. I'll play this fast through. Just watch the goalie's feet.
Pregame, right?
Watch the goalie when he moves.
Ball skim?
Yeah.
French
Cool.
side of...
So one thing to understand is that goalies tend to try to get to the pipe maybe too soon. I see that happen a lot. Goalies just got to be patient. Now, the game happens really fast at this level. At the high school level, obviously, it's a little bit slower. Goalies can just be patient to get to that near side pipe, right? Get to that other pipe, whatever they need, right? But goalies also got to understand that for shooters, their clock is ticking, right? So in their head, as they get above goal line extended, their time speeds up. They're worried about getting crushed. I mean, this is a preseason game, but I think it's a preseason game. I'm not sure. It's been a long time, but goalie or attackmen are, a lot of them are getting right above goal line and they're trying to get the shot off. So as a goalie, we just got to get to that post and take up as much space as possible, and most likely going to shoot it right into us. And the goalie here does a good job of that.
French side of...
All right, so I'm gonna cut it there. But we covered a ton. So if you watched all the way through, congrats. Listen, if I can help you at all, feel free to post a comment below or send a question. You can also, like I mentioned, I've got a free private Lacrosse Goalie Facebook group called Creating the Lacrosse Goalie of the Future. I'll put the link below. But you got to answer the 3 questions to get in. If you don't answer the 3 questions, you're not getting in. But if you don't know who I am, I'm Coach Edwards. I run lacrossegoalietips.com. I've been coaching goalies for over 25 years now, and I do other stuff. So I'm an unbiased voice when it comes to lacrosse goalie coaching. I don't run camps. I'm not affiliated with any schools. So I'm not, I don't have anything to sell you like that. If you need my help, I've got things I can help you with, but I'm really all about changing the game. My motto has always been about changing the game of lacrosse one goalie at a time. And I've done it privately and I've done it quietly. And this is probably the first video I've ever done like this. So hopefully it gets get some good reviews, and then we can, maybe I'll do more of them in the future. But if you head on over to lacrossegoalietips.com, we got a lot of resources there. I've got what I call the cheat sheets for my lacrosse goalies. I believe lacrosse goalies got to understand that your grade is not the scoreboard. When you look at these Division I goalies that stepped off this field on this day, scores 12, 14, whatever. It's a lot of goals going in. But goalies got to understand that their grade is really their save percentage. Especially young kids got to know that. That's really, but even then, within the shots that a goalie faces, some are obviously higher quality than others. Okay, so if you're working with young goalies, you got to make sure that your team might have lost 10-2, right? But if your goalie had if your boys goalies had a save percentage north of 40%, it's a good day. For the girls, if they have a save percentage over 30%, it's a good day, right? But for our goalies, obviously playing with better teams, then those save percentage, we want them to creep up a little bit. But there's going to be days where your goalie loses, but they had a great save percentage day and they got to walk around with their head held high. That's the one place where, I believe in team, and I believe in talking about team, and I believe in talking about, hey, we win and we lose together. But psychologically, one of the things that you can do as a coach is help your team understand that, hey guys, or girls, we let our goalie down today. We gave up way too many shots from way too high a percentage, and he or she did the best they could today, and they actually had one of their best games of the season, and you'll know that if you're looking at the statistics. So the cheat sheets that I have available will help you with that if you want to learn more. But yeah, do me a favor, like this video, leave a comment below, share it with your coach or a goalie or a parent who wants to understand the game a little bit better. But and then come on over to lacrossegoalietips.com and check us out, and if I can help you, I'm here. So changing the game one goalie at a time. And yeah, awesome, guys. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon.